got my afternoon coffee and I am ready to put together these cookie boxes. This has been something that I have been wanting to do for a couple Christmases now, and I just haven't had the time or the energy to. But this year I decided this was going to be the year that I was going to start making an annual Christmas cookie box. I spent time gathering inspiration and ideas for this, as well as collecting my recipes, and I'm excited to share it all with you. My process and how I organized making and assembling my cookie boxes. I hope you find some inspiration here. If you are working on a Christmas cookie box, I hope that I can share some helpful tidbits and tips that I have picked up along the way. When I began planning my cookie boxes, I knew that I needed to be organized or it would fail. And it's so true. I actually started this process probably a month before I wanted to distribute my boxes to friends and neighbors. I started by gathering my recipes. I have, I think, 6 or 7 recipes that I'll be sharing today. And then I designated a day to get all the ingredients, a day to bake the cookie dough, and then a day to actually bake the cookies and then decorate and then assemble. When it came to buying the ingredients, I looked through all the cookie recipes and I just made a list of all the different ingredients that I needed. I used recipes that were mostly from the same blog that I found, so it was really helpful because this baker who came up with these recipes used a lot of the same ingredients. So that was something that was really helpful. A lot of things I already had at home, but some things I just bought extra of, such as flour and baking powder, just to make sure that I would have enough. On the day that I planned to bake the cookies, the night before, I just skimmed through the recipe and just checked if I needed to leave out any butter or things like that overnight. And sure enough, I did have to have softened butter for a lot of the recipes, so I left out my butter and had everything all ready to go the night before. When it came to making my cookie dough, I found it super helpful to not really worry about washing all of my supplies that I was using. Of course, I used my stand mixer, and I don't think I washed the bowl at all. I just made a cookie dough, mixed it all together, took it out. You know, it's a cookie dough, so it's kind of in a ball anyways. There wasn't a lot of like gunk or anything on the edges of the bowl. And then I just added the ingredients for the next recipe and mixed it and continued that process. So it made it really, really easy. And cleanup wasn't really that much extra than if I had just made one batch of cookies. Some helpful information if you are making cookie boxes is to know that you can freeze drop cookies as they are. So for those ones, I just rolled them into balls as if I would bake them and then popped them either into Ziploc bags or Tupperwares to throw into the freezer. I also made sure to label them all. For cookies that needed to be cut out, like these ones, I just rolled out my dough kind of like 1/2 inch or inch thick, wrapped it in saran wrap and then tin foil and threw it in the freezer, again making sure to label the dough. And then a few days later, I was ready to bake my cookies. So I took all the dough out of the freezer, I left it in the fridge the night before, and then for baking the drop cookies, I was able to just take the dough balls, pop them onto parchment paper and my cookie trays, and I just added maybe 3 or 4 extra minutes of the cook time. For the cookies that needed to be cut out, I just left the dough on the counter for like an hour to soften up and then rolled it out. It was the exact same consistency as if I had just made it. So that's something I love about making cookies is you can freeze the dough and then you can also freeze the cookies once they are baked, which I also did. So on my baking day, like I said, I took them out of the freezer, I baked all my cookies, and then a lot of them I actually put back into freezer bags and froze again The reason being was that I wasn't assembling my cookie boxes until a week or even a week and a half later, and I didn't want my cookies to go stale. So like for these cookies and these ones, once they were baked, I just put them into baggies, put them in the freezer, and they were ready to go. And then came my day to decorate my cookies. So again, I took them out of the freezer. I just left them on the counter overnight. And then on my decorating day, I had all of my white chocolate and dark chocolate that I was melting, and pecan pieces and candy cane pieces, had that all prepped and ready to go. And I was able to just dip the cookies that needed dipping and adding chocolate and sprinkles and whatever else. And I was able to just do it in like an hour or two, and it was so simple. So here's a plate of all the different cookies that I made. So before I assemble the boxes, I wanted to just do a quick run through of the different cookies that I made. I tried to do an assortment of different flavors, especially Christmas flavors. So we have some candy cane pieces, we've got white chocolate and pecan, and of course cinnamon, like snickerdoodle style cookies. So I really wanted to incorporate a lot of those different Christmas flavors. So these cookies are just the classic gingerbread cookie. I did make an icing for them, but it didn't really turn out. So I think I'm just gonna leave them plain. Next year, I'll make a note to do a different icing recipe. And then we have these ones. These were a little bit different. I don't know that I would make them again, honestly, for a cookie box, but they're a chocolate cookie with white chocolate and then peppermint pieces. They're just not my favorite tasting, so I think I would probably not make those ones again. And then we have these snowflake stamped cookies. These ones are a snickerdoodle shortbread cookie, and they're pretty good. They would be delicious with a cup of coffee. They're also really soft, which is wonderful. One of my favorite cookies, it might actually be my top one, is this white chocolate pecan biscotti. It is so delicious and it's not too sweet. So I think it would be perfect to have with a cup of cocoa or coffee or tea or something like that. And then these maple cookies are also a big hit. They're really soft and they have this sort of cinnamon sugar on top of them, and they are super, super yummy. So for assembling the cookie boxes, I have these boxes that I got on Amazon. I'll link them down below. I really love the size of them. And then I'm also going to just use some Christmas scrapbook paper to make little boxes to go inside. And then you'll also want to have some different tissue papers or some sort of filler to go at the bottom of the cookie boxes. And then of course, scissors and tape and even some string I have to bundle some of the cookies up. So what I'll do is I'll just put some tissue paper in the bottom of the box, add some of my little boxes, and just arrange the cookies in a way that it looks pretty. Hi, honey. Did it go okay?
Oh, yeah. Come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
There are a few notes that I am making for myself to keep in mind for next year. First of all, I want to make sure that I have all the supplies that I need. While I made sure I had all the ingredients, I didn't double check to make sure I had the proper cookie cutters, and I also didn't realize that I would need cookie stamps for one of the recipes, so that kind of caused a glitch in my system this year. Also, next year I think I would use smaller boxes. I really like the style and layout of these boxes, but they're just a little bit too big. I think I found there was just extra space. And then the last thing is I would like to write down the different types of cookies that are in the box, just so that the people that I'm giving them to have an idea of what sorts of flavors and what kinds of cookies they are receiving. Here are the finished cookie boxes. Here are the paper boxes that we made, along with the biscotti that I just tied a little string around. I think that adds a nice touch. And then I also added a few candy canes here and there just to add some extra color. I love adding those classic Christmas colors, the red and green. I think they turned out great, and I'm really excited to deliver these to our neighbors and friends. Well, thanks so much for joining me today as we made our cookie boxes. I'm so excited to deliver these to friends and family and neighbors. Hopefully you found it inspirational if you are making cookie boxes or just doing baking or Christmas festivities in general. Don't forget to like this video and also subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.